One of my jobs today is to replace this switch. It's the reverse light switch for a 300 TDI R380 gearbox. Looks quite innocent, just a simple switch. Now they do fail quite often, and I think I did mention this into a video when I was doing the R380 gearbox. This one seems to be actually quite good because the wires look as if they're potted. That means it's resin sealed to stop water getting in and the wires getting pulled out. Now, kind of crazy, this is an aftermarket part. In North America we call it jobber. I don't know why, it doesn't make any sense to me. But anyway, this is a jobber part. In the UK, this is about £10, roundabout. If you're going to get one of these from Land Rover, they are nearly £45. £45 for a switch. So you know which ones our customers want to fit. Because that in Canadian is what, $80, and they just won't pay it. The problem is, it is in God's devil's backyard. It's, oh, I don't know, it's in a terrible place anyway. That's what I'm trying to say. There's all sorts of things going on here this morning, all sorts of crises, but we'll get on with it. So the switch is approximately here. Now I don't know, I can't get my hand up inside the gearbox to change it, otherwise I've got to take all this tunnel out, which isn't a really big job. It's not that the end of the world, but I've got to take the AC out. I've got to take this AC dash out so I can get the tunnel out. People don't realise that. You can see how tight it is. Usually the tunnel comes straight up. So I had a word with a customer last night and he gave me the okay to say that if I could find on this side of the box, I'm going to take this rubber cover off and I'm going to take the gaiter off and the foam to see if I can see the switch and maybe cut a piece out of that panel so I could get access to the switch. I'm not going to say this is going to work, but it's going to make my life an awful lot easier because, you know, like I said, just to take that out, it's only a 5-minute job. It's, well, 10 minutes or something like that. But to take all this lot off, nightmare. So just to change the switch. So let's see what happens. So I took the cover off the gearbox, the gaiter and the soundproofing, and I took the centre seat out, and the switch is here, right on this seam here. So I can't cut that. I can't get in from this side because the great big bunch of wires here go right across the top of the switch. So I don't think I've got any choice. I think what I'm going to and of course what I was going to say to you is because this is left-hand drive, the freaking handbrake is right in the way, which means either take the handbrake off and mess about with it or fight around it. Oh dear. So all this just to change a switch. I think what I'm going to try and do is take this soundproofing off this carpet here. Take the soundproofing off there. That's not a big job. In fact, pull all the damn carpets out and everything, get rid of them, and try and unscrew the covers, the cover, and try and lift it so I can put my hand from underneath. I cannot get into it from underneath the car because there's all sorts of stuff in the way. There's, you know, I could pull the exhaust off, but that's all rusty, so that's going to break. Dear me, who'd do this job, eh? Nobody'd do it. Yeah, a bit of a problem. You know, they think we're experts, but they put things in such damned awkward places. I don't know why they couldn't have put the switch at the back like they did on the old 200 TDIs, but there we go. So that's the next step. So I managed to get the tunnel bolts out, the screws. That wasn't too bad, and the insulation off. And I managed. That's the highest I can pull that cover off. I just can't get it up high enough to get the tunnel out. But the nice thing is, if you can see, where can you see? Maybe you can't see. There it is, down there, just down there. Look, So now I can get my hand in and get the switch out. But you see, normally I just take the fuse box out, you know, take the screws out of the fuse box, move that up, get this out of the way, no problem. And even to get the fuse box out, I had to use this special ratchet and Phillips because I couldn't get a screwdriver in. Air conditioning. I think this goes with bull bars as one of my pet hates. Anyway, we'll change that switch and then we'll box it back up and hopefully that works. So I got the old switch out and I've set up my multimeter because in Land Rover land you never take anything for granted. So what we're going to do first of all is test the switch. But before we test the switch, we're going to test our jumper leads so they can connect to the switch. It's quite easy to be fooled. You put your, you know, if you put some of these jumper leads on, and then you find out that you think, oh, the switch is buggered, but it isn't. It's the lead. So we've put it onto ohms and we've put the ringer on. So we know that one's okay. We'll put this one on. All will become clear. Get rid of that one. Ooh. Yep, that one's all right. I thought it was a dead one. So now this is the old switch, and you can see on here that the terminals have been changed from this to the old bullet connector. So we're putting the bullet connectors back on. So we'll put one on here, one on here. That was just the leads touching. It wasn't to do anything to do with here. And a completely dead switch. And this is why we use these connectors, you know, these crocodile connectors on the leads rather than relying on the touching them because they can jump off. So we put the new one on. Oh my! Oh, now, did you hear that? The first contacts, it's like finding ET. First contact didn't work. Look at this. Well. It's half working anyway. Perhaps that's only why they're £10. Look. This proves my point. Never ever take anything for granted. I'm going to have to look further into this because I think I've got a spare one somewhere. So, what I've done so far is I was looking for my lead. These plugs are called Econoline plugs, quite popular on the TDIs, TD5s and things like this. So what I've done is I buy these tester jump cables at the local electronic shop, and they're really cheap. I think it's about $5 for a pack of 20. But the problem is they can melt inside here and lose the connection, so they're only cheap. So I usually take them off, resolder them and make them nice, and then solder them onto an Econoline, and that's going to be nice. So that means if you want to test something without taking the plug off, because I did find a spare switch, we can now simply plug it in, get rid of these, get rid of that, get rid of that, take our jump lead. Because you see, sometimes when you work on your own, you really need another pair of hands because you can't hold the switches on. Look, so let's see what this one's like. A lot better. You would agree. So I'm going to put this one on instead of that one, and I'll at least I've explained to the customer that this is so unreliable. But again, as my mother used to say, test and try before you buy. I don't know what she meant by that. So now we're going to put this on. Just before I fit this switch, I just wanted to say, how did I know it was the switch? How did I know it wasn't part of the wiring or the bulb gone in the back? Well, it's quite simple really. I just got underneath the vehicle, unplugged this plug, these bullet connectors. I know they're supposed to have one of these on, but I unplugged it, put a jumper lead around, which I tested, put the jumper lead on, and the back light came on. So therefore, circuit's good. Sometimes you can get tricked by looking for electrical problems, and you go to the most bizarre thing. So sometimes a switch, if you bypass the switch, you can test the electric circuit. So then you can either say, well, it's the switch, or it's the bulb, or it's the switch on the dash, or it's the wiring, or it's a fuse. It's sometimes really easy to get underneath, find the actual connector on the switch, jump it over, and find out what the problem is, if you see what I mean. So let's see if it's going to work. Is it on? Hey, look at that. So there we go. That's a pretty reasonably easy fix to do. But it just goes to show you, a lot of my jobs on Land Rovers are fixing connections and switches, and we're going to go through an awful lot of that on this channel now that summertime, spring's here and jobs are coming in, because in days previous, well, we didn't have anything, we were taking things to bits, but now we can see real-time jobs, and I'm going to go through this with you and make a big catalogue of Defender and Range Rover problems that can be solved relatively easily. Talk to you later.